Guys, this is going to be a little education segment, all right? I'm going to do something on contest preps, mistakes, and obstacles, meaning a lot of these things that constantly people do for some reason. When you're going through a contest prep and you're dedicating all your time and all your effort for 12 to 18 weeks, dieting, training, not being social, and then you just mess up at the end or you mess up along the way, and you look back and you realize you made minor mistakes that had detrimental effects to your physique. Who wants to do that? It's just stupid. Luckily, personally, I haven't made a lot of these mistakes, some of them. I'm very of a control freak, so I always think of everything that can go wrong. Kind of like Ben Stiller in Along Came Polly, right? I look at everything as in what could go wrong and try to address that or be prepared for that, okay? So we're gonna go down the list, and so hopefully that you guys can take these tips and apply them if you are gonna do contest prep for the first time, and make sure you don't make it. So you don't dedicate all that time, all that damn effort just to fuck it up, okay? First one, not allowing enough time to prepare. Averaging out 1.5 pounds per week of estimated weight loss, and then had an extra 2-week buffer. Buffer for sickness, a buffer for emergencies, and most important, for diet breaks or plateaus, because more than likely, most of you guys will need some type of diet break. You don't want to be, if you're in a situation where you're adding cardio, taking away food, adding fat burning drugs, and just burying your body into the ground and never having a cheat meal, refeed, or diet break, then you probably need a new coach, or you're way behind, you have too much fat to lose, and that's not the proper way to do it, okay? So first off, you have to get a realistic idea of how much weight you need to lose roughly. It's impossible to predict exactly, but you can get within probably 4 to 5 pounds of what you probably might be on stage. And to do that, you need somebody who has a good eye, who's prepared people before, or who has coached people before, same thing, sorry, or has competed multiple times before. They can look at some physique and kind of get a good idea of what somebody would weigh, or around how to estimate how many weeks they need to diet, okay? 12 weeks is not enough. If you're 8% body fat, 9% body fat, in my opinion, 12 weeks you could do. But if you're north of 10%, you need more time, because this 2 pounds, 3 pounds of body weight loss per week, it just doesn't elicit the right look of that grainy, hard muscle. That's not it, you know? Muscle like this. Grainy, hard muscle at 4 weeks out, okay? So that's important. That's the most important. That's honestly probably the biggest mistake most people make, is they decide to do a show at 14 weeks out. Oh, I'm just going to jump in the show 14 weeks out. They didn't properly prepare. 2, this is another huge mistake. These are probably the top 2 biggest mistakes. Starting prep for a show already in a deficit. If you've been yo-yo dieting or trying to stay on the leaner side all year round, and then you decide to do a show, good luck. At that point in time, your body's probably already pretty metabolically adapted. What you don't understand is that your body has a long window that it can adapt and still be able to maintain body weight. So obviously, like say if you're at 3,000 calories and you go down to 2,500 and you exercise 500, and 3,000 calories was your bulking calories, and you took 500 calories off and started doing 500 calories of exercise, extra exercise, there's a good chance after the first week of losing that initial water, you won't lose anything on that diet at all after that. You will need to require a further change. Now, what I'm trying to say is, if you're always trying to maintain lean physique, or leaner than your body wants to be all year round going into a prep, your body's already metabolically adapted down here. Getting you to contest prep shape is going to be much more difficult. You're going to have to grind harder. You probably have to go lower in calories. You're going to have to do more cardio, and it's going to be a more painstaking process. That is something that you don't want to ever do. Your calories must be maintenance, if not in a slight surplus, for an extended period of time before you think about entering a preparation diet. 100%. 3, starting prep during a stressful time. This is another big one. What do I mean by stressful time? A breakup, a job change, a move. You're in the middle of an injury. That's a no. You're going through a divorce. Gotta do a prep. No. Unless you're using that divorce to stay distracted and it's not adding more stress, sure. But you probably still won't look your best. So keep your expectations to a reasonable level, okay? That's for damn sure. You're in the middle of a job change. You got to change jobs in the middle of prep. It requires you to stay after work, less sleep, more stress, longer commute to work. Not a good idea. That is a humongous no. That's not what we're going to do, okay? You're moving. You got to move apartments. You got to move into a house. That's bad to do too. We're not doing that. And injuries. If your training is not at 100%, and you're constantly having to make modifications to training because of injury and your body's just not in a good spot, don't prep, because those injuries are only going to get probably worse, especially if they're muscle injuries. If they're overuse injuries, they might probably actually get better if it's like your minor medial lateral epicondylitis, anything like that. Those might actually get better. But other than that, you don't want to be starting during a stressful time. If the holidays are a stressful time and you want to compete in March, you might not want to die through Christmas, okay? And aim to enjoy the holidays. So pick the appropriate time. Then you're going to think you need more gear. And then you're going to take more gear thinking that's going to help mitigate your crappy training planning. And then you're not going to be able to sleep as much. Then you're going to have fucked up digestion because you're going to have acid reflux with too much orals. And then it's a fucking disaster. Then you're going to be flat. You're going to be tired. Calories are going to be low. You're not going to be recovering. You're going to be losing strength. That's what you don't want to do. Training needs to be very uniform. Really, at 12 weeks out, you should be bounced around between 4-week cycles of exercises. 4 weeks of this exercise, 4 weeks of that exercise, 4 weeks of this exercise, 4 weeks of that. Obviously mimicking like movements. For example, incline dumbbell press goes to incline barbell press, goes to incline dumbbell press, goes to incline barbell press. And then as you get closer, you might want to do machines. If you start to feel fragile and very depleted, it's a little safer, still able to stimulate the muscle. The amount of volume you do should be exactly the freaking same. Volume is a number of working sets per body part. Should be the same at 12 weeks out, all the way through. And if anything, it doesn't go more, it becomes less, because you might need to mitigate fatigue and you might need to increase recovery, which is going to require you to do what? Reduce your volume. Nowhere in prep are you going to be increasing volume. That's not what you're going to be doing ever. No. And no forced reps, none of that crap. Whatever you've been doing at 16 weeks out, that's really should pave the entire way. What built the muscle, it's gonna keep the muscle. That's what's gonna pave the entire way. So you gotta know what you're doing volume-wise. Stay with your rep ranges and 8 to 12 rep ranges with controlled weight, because you don't want to get injured in depleted state. Keep your volume very consistent, steady. Keep your full 2 days off of weight training per week. I know some people do push-pull legs off, but in prep, you really might need to utilize that extra day. Mental break from prep is important, believe it or not, for fat loss. Fat loss is not beast mode. It doesn't work that way. It works that way for maybe 3 out of 10 people, but the rest of the people will lose some fat, but they're not going to get in that gnarly shape. You have to basically, I always tell people, it's easier to trick a wild animal into a cage versus to force it into a cage. That's how some people do preps. They force the body, and some people, coaches, will trick the body into getting in shape. You want to be more on the lines of that, okay? Doesn't work the other way. It just doesn't. And that's what you got to be really careful of. So these are very common contest prep mistakes. Some of them are more obvious than others. And I think I'll just add one more. When you're traveling your food to your show, keep it cold. If you have a huge cooler and there's no option of a fridge in the room, get a huge cooler and cycle the ice. The ice packs are not going to stay cold all weekend. They are not. Super, super, super important, okay? People throwing up, getting sick from foodborne illness because their chicken's been sitting in the bathtub in their hotel for 3 days in a cooler with 3 ice packs. That's actually a legitimate story. That actually happened. All right, guys. I'll get back to the questions the next episode, as you call it, whatever we want to call it, next Q&A episode. Got some questions lined up, stacked up, so I'll get that done for you guys, and I'll talk to you next time. I hope you guys like the contest prep mistakes. I'll talk to you guys next time.